Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Shay, Allie, and if you're watching today, you probably already know that. I just wanted to go live today and wish everybody a very Merry Christmas from everyone here at Inspired, and maybe share a Christmas message. Well, I'm actually going to share a Christmas message inspired by our Queen, who goes live with her Christmas message in about 15 minutes. So I thought, why not? Let's share some words of wisdom for today, for those of us that it helps. I know many of us in London and the southeast of England are locked down and not able to see our families in the way that we hoped. So it made me think about, what can we do or think about to make this time more positive. Now, it's not the year I think that anybody expected, pretty much. Well, no matter who you are, whether you're introvert, extrovert, whether you love being at home or not, this was probably all a little bit unexpected. And it was something a little earlier this week, two things earlier this week actually, that made me think, how can we frame this differently? And one thing is about this concept of gratitude, which I've spoken about before, and many of our speakers here at Inspired have spoken about before. And it's, after all, the season to be merry and to be grateful. So it's so important to just think about what are the blessings that we can take from this year and this time, even though maybe things didn't turn out the way that we quite expected. So some ideas that I had around that are, number one, someone said on Monday during a beautiful meditation for the winter solstice is, how can we, it's Mother Earth's time. She's really needed to take this time out to heal. And with the things that are going on today, maybe some of us thought this would be over by summer or whatever it was. And she's giving us a strong message that actually, I am healing right now and I am your home. And this is my time. So maybe let's be grateful for that. And another way that we can see this through the eyes of love, maybe, it's a question that I always ask: how can I see this through the eyes of love rather than the eyes that I'm seeing right now? Is we're living through a time that is very historic, and many of our ancestors have lived through historic times. Maybe you have family that's lived through the First World War, the Second World War. Mine were quite lucky. They went through all of that in a small African village that I don't think was very affected by that. But, what if we were in London during the Blitz or World War II, or, it's a time like that? And yeah, we are in our homes and maybe not able to go and see all our loved ones right now. But I was thinking, well, at least, we haven't got the danger that our house is going to be bombed or anything like that. We have a virus and that may be causing death to some people, but the vast majority of people are surviving. And while we are at home, we're safe and hopefully happy as well. Or hopefully most of us are safe too. But there are, and I was thinking, well, it is a blessing. Most of us have a roof over our heads. We have our family that loves us. Maybe you haven't seen them for a while, but it doesn't mean that those feelings have disappeared. And we have a lot to be grateful for. If you're breathing right now, that's a reason to be grateful too. So there's that message of gratitude, and how can we see things through the eyes of love rather than through the eyes that we're seeing right now. And in using that gratitude and thinking about things that way, gratitude is a real antidote to fear. So I try not to engage with too much of the news, and people are very vocal about how they feel about these circumstances. My response mostly is, I want to get on with what I'm doing, and I value your cause, and I love that you have a voice for that. But it really is to stay in love and stay in gratitude. And that is the antidote to whatever fear or anything that you may be experiencing right now. And as we go into 2021, in, well, similar circumstance to what we've had for most of this year, I think, let's think about ways that we can maybe reframe things that we've been feeling this year so that we can make that a more positive experience. And I love something that a gentleman called Tad Shinky said. He is one of Tony Robbins' trainers, and very early on in this pandemic, he was sharing that he decided to come up with the acronym that COVID means confident of victory in demanding times. So rather than thinking about, oh, I'm stuck at home and I can't get on with my life and maybe I've lost my job or whatever it is, how would it be if you could just think about yourself being confident of victory in demanding times? And there are certainly lots of things that you can do in this time. So for myself, I've done some things that I never thought I would do. For those of you that know me well, you know that I'm an extrovert personality. I spend a lot of time, or used to spend a lot of time going out for lovely meals, live music, traveling the world, wherever I wanted to go. And I never thought I would have a year at home. And it's brought, I guess, many gifts in its own light as well. I've managed to take care of my health and my self-care. I think that's been a big one this year. And while I was rushing around doing all those things, I wasn't necessarily eating healthy or working out all the time, even though I've always loved the gym. And now, that's something that's very integrated into my life and my existence. And then I've studied some things that I maybe wouldn't have had time for, or, I would never have thought I would come and study sailing theory, for example. But it's lovely, I connected with the idea of, well, when we're allowed back out, I can go and hire a yacht and sail to some beautiful places, in some beautiful places. And, if I was going out to all those lovely dinners and live music, I probably wouldn't have spent my evenings, playing with a plotter and a divider and maps and studying mathematical calculations about tides. But, there we go. What can you do in this time? To make sure that this time is a gift? And it doesn't need to be studying something new or learning a new language or anything like that. It could be, I woke up in the morning and I took 10 minutes to meditate or breathe and I just feel better about myself. It could be something super simple, and that's still, a victory in demanding times. I think a final thought and a final tool that I'd like to share with you is something else that I was thinking about this morning, and it's mainly for those that feel a bit alone. But even if you're not alone, it's a tool that's useful for everybody. And it originally comes from Carl Jung, who talked about the archetypes. And again, Tony Robbins uses this at some of his events. He used it in a great video, if you want to check out, called Negotiating Conflict, which happened on 9/11, where he used this tool to negotiate between a Jewish man and a Muslim man who had very different meanings behind what happened on 9/11. By connecting them both to these parts of themselves, managed to bring peace in the room and peace to a lot of feelings that people were feeling. So I thought that struck me as very profound. And this is what it is. Even if you're on your own, you have your own counsel inside you at all times. And that counsel takes the form of four little beings. And those four little beings are called the warrior, the lover, the magician, and the king or the queen. So when you have a question in your life that you're really struggling with and you want some different perspectives, and maybe you don't have your regular people to talk to about it, why don't you ask that counsel inside of you, what would you do? So, and I've used people, or I've not used people, but I've seen people use this in a lot of contexts. So, whether it's around love, whether it's around business, whether it's around just what your next step is, why not ask these questions of yourself? So if you're confused about your next step in life, have a think about, what is it the warrior inside me would do right now? What answer would that give me? And the way to really connect into that is just to take a deep breath. And I like to imagine breathing into, you know, your heart space, where I think all the answers lie, and said it right. If I was speaking to the warrior part of myself, what would that say? And that's probably going to give you some kind of really go-getting, amazing answer to your question. And then connect in again and think, what would the lover in me say? And again, this is kind of maybe this more sensual, playful side, and we'll give you a bit of a different answer. And then connect in again and think, what would the magician say? You know, if you dared to think that life could be magical and you could create miracles without a filter, and just ask your heart, what would that magician part of me say right now to me? And then the sovereign, the king, the queen, what would that part of me say? If I really breathe in and connect in and think about that answer to that really difficult issue that I've been having. And, you know, and don't have a filter. Like, any answers that you get, if you're doing this with yourself, are right. You know, so a lot of times, now I do this myself sometimes. I think, really? Well, you know, that's not going to happen, or something like that. But you'll be right, because that's the voice of your intuition. That's the voice of your, you know, inner beings that are helping you out. And I think by connecting with them in those 4 ways, you're getting some slightly different answers and a slightly different spin on what your intuition would usually say. So if you have a moment where you're feeling a little bit lost and you need a different answer, and maybe your favorite friends are not on speed dial right now, that's something that I'd like to invite you all to do, and hopefully it helps you out. So with that, I'm going to pause before Her Majesty starts her speech, which I'm sure will be very lovely. But all that's left for me to say is I wish you all such a beautiful Christmas, holidays, or whatever it is that you celebrate right now. May your 2021 and the rest of 2020 be very, very blessed. Know that it can be, it will be, and no matter what the circumstances, you can create magic. Yes, you, everybody, whatever that is for your life, please know that it can happen, and it will. So much love, and we will see you on the other side.